Hello, traders. It's Wednesday, January 18th, 2023. This is going to be a segment on trading trend lines. You're going to hear a lot about trend lines from me this year. Probably the most commonly used form of technical analysis that there is, because all you need is a pencil and a straight edge to draw these lines. Because everyone follows trend lines, it makes them relevant. Institutions have figured out ways to program these trend lines automatically so they know when these key price points have been breached. That's what I've been doing for the last 2 months. I've tried to do this for about the last 10 years with various different iterations. It seems like this should be so easy to do, but it's not. It's extremely difficult. Picking these price points, picking these lines the way that they're drawn, you have to be super particular about them. Why do we do it? Well, when these price points are breached, you can see the stock take off. There's momentum behind this breakout to the upside or the downside. Sometimes these critical price points fail. Looks like you're going to get a breakout, and then all of a sudden price reverses. Even that fail produces a big move. So it's important for us to monitor these because there's a lot of action around that price point. We're traders. That's what we want. We want that action. This also serves as a method to confirm other technical indicators. Now, the beauty of trend lines is that unlike every other indicator, they are happening real time. Other indicators are lagging. So when you get a breakout, it might take another 3, 4, 5 days for a technical indicator to catch that breakout. But when you're trading trend lines, you see it instantly. The goal, obviously, is to draw excellent trend lines, to find these critical price points, and then to be able to search for them. Obviously, we want to display them also so that when we get a search result that says, hey, we've got an upside breakout here, we can bring up the chart and see that line ourselves. Before we get too deep into the woods here, let's cover some basic terms because it's easier for me to talk about trend lines and breakouts in this fashion. So first of all, we have trend lines that connect highs. We're connecting to high, 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 and we've got a breakout. When the line is descending, I call that a high minus. The minus would indicate the slope of the line. These are always moving towards price. They are on a collision course with price. So we get a lot of them. These are the most common trend line breaches, probably the ones that you use the most. The next is a low plus. This is connecting the lows, and it has a positive slope. This trend line is also moving towards price. So think of it this way. If the stock just stopped going up, eventually you're going to get a trend line breach. Now, those aren't ideal for our purposes. We want that price movement downward like that for the breach, but it would breach at some point in time because it's going to intercept. You'll see in a second that the other two are not quite like that. So again, very common because we're moving towards price. These tend to be the more reliable breakouts and breakdowns, which brings out another point. This is a bullish breakout. When we have upside movement and it's bullish, we call that a breakout. When we have downside movement, we call that a breakdown, so that it's easy for us to distinguish which type of trend line we're looking at and what that ultimate move is going to result in. So here we've got a high plus. We are connecting the highs. There you've got a very gradual slope and a breakout. These trend lines are less common because we are trying to catch the train once it's left the station. And so they are upward sloping. If you can draw them more gradually, that's better because you're going to be able to catch that train. But in this instance, if the stock here did not go up and it just flatlined, this line is going to be moving away from price. So they are less common for that reason. These patterns also tend to produce some reversals, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. This is a low minus. So we are connecting the lows and it has a negative slope. Descending trend line, there's your breakdown. This would be a bearish signal right here. I'm going to have a link in the description area of the video so that you can read a lot more about these trend lines, the different characteristics that they have and such. But let's get on to why we want to use them to find great trades. So this is why I've been absent for the last month in the chat room. I am working tirelessly on this project. I'm really, really close, closer than I've been in years, to finding really good automated trend lines. So I'm going to show you some, and you'll be able to see what all these lines mean and how we're going to use them in our trading. So first of all, know that when we get these significant breakouts, a lot of these breakouts, they may not last for more than 4, 5, 6, maybe 10 days. And then they peter out and they reverse, which is fine. We don't have a problem with that because we are very short-term traders. We're looking for that boost. We're looking for that catalyst. We want to have that follow through. This is one way that we can find them. We can combine these breakouts and breakdowns with other technical indicators to increase our odds of success. So this is one of the versions. I've got about 6 different systems that I'm currently viewing, testing. This is the one that I really like the most so far. It does produce a lot of results, but that's okay. And you're going to see in a second how that benefits us. I'm not cherry picking, first of all. I'm going through one of the searches yesterday. This is a heavy buying search from Option Stalker, and I'm just going to go down through the list. These bars are super tiny for a reason. We want to see as much data as we can because we want to see what happens at these price points. So a green downward sloping line, this is your high minus. We're looking for a breakout to the upside. This is a high plus. We're connecting highs. And here's a classic example. See how it's moving away from price. So they are less common. Here it's moving away from price. So it's less common. So let's take a look at some charts and I'll show you how I would be trading them and how reliable this is. I can't wait to get this in your hands. This is just incredible stuff. I've been looking at it till my eyes are crossed for most days, and this has been like a 12, 14 hour a day project. So this is a very long-term trend line in general. The longer and more gradual the trend line, the more touches, the more reliable it's going to be. And you can see that we've got a little high plus. So we'll start at the end and we'll work our way backwards. So there's a nice little high plus, and you can see right now MSTR is giving us a nice little buy signal in here. You can see that from the breakout, it's already got a little bit of follow through. Here you have a low minus. So this is a descending trend line. You can see the breach right in here. You get probably a week's worth of follow through. Again, because the price is so compressed in this chart, realize that these breakdowns that look so tiny are actually lasting a week or 2 weeks. So there's plenty of momentum. If you're a short-term trader, a day trader, you're in, you're out, you just know, I want to stay on the short side. You get a breakdown like this. I want to stay short, I want to stay short, I want to stay short. And so as the price starts to come in, you can look to short these little rallies and these little bounces. Now, the one thing that you might be saying in the back of your mind is, yeah, well, look, I don't know about this, Pete. Okay, yeah, we get nice little follow through here, but I get so scared trying to short something when it's this close to horizontal support. Okay, that's a valid argument. So go with it as long as you can. We draw this trend line, we get the breakdown right here. We're going to extend that trend line because what happens on a trend line is you will very often see a reversal back through it. How many times have you traded a breakout and you think, oh, this is a great move. Oh, this thing's really going to go. and then the door gets slammed in your face, and you're like, what the heck? It's just a gigantic head fake to lure you in. So we are also going to be watching for those reversals, and we do have names for them. In this particular case, what happens when you get a low minus breakdown is that oftentimes you'll pop right back above it. So for the trend lines that go with the trend, that would be your low minus and that would be your high plus, those are fairly often breached. And we want to be looking for those reversals because when we get them, there's going to be great trading on the other side. Trust me, I know I've had my face in this for the last 2 months. So breakdown, nice, can follow that. Oh, now we're going to get a signal that, hey, you know what? This trend line that was breached, now we're back above it. Look at that follow through. Beautiful entry right in there. So here's another long-term trend line. Actually, we've got a couple others. We have one that comes in here. Beautiful. Look at that. That's about a week's worth of follow through. We also get another trend line breach right here. That's got about 2 weeks worth of follow through. You can also see that, hey, we've got this trend line breach right here. We've got this trend line breach right here. That serves as double confirmation. We've actually got two trend lines drawn from different starting points that are yielding different lines. So now we've got confirmation that, yeah, this is a really nice looking little breakdown. There is a long-term trend line. And now you've got our intercept right in here and a nice breakout. Look at that. You got probably a week to 2 weeks worth of nice rally out of this. Right here, got a nice little breakdown. There's about a week's worth of follow through right in there. Beautiful. Here you've got a downward sloping trend line. This is your high minus. Awesome. Look at that rally. All day long we'll trade that. Now, this is a high plus. It's going nowhere. So we can even remove those from the chart when they are moving away from price at a steep angle. There's another one going off into oblivion. This is a very nice little high plus breakout. So we're trying to join this trend right here. Beautiful. Everything looks great. We get probably about 2 or 3 days of price action, and then, whoa, see ya. Look at how well it caught that little breakdown here. So this is going to be critical for us to watch that as the stock continues to drop. Here's a nice low plus breakdown right there. See it? So you got this right here, which we call a high plus top. So broke out, failed. Now we got a topping formation. So we got that breach. We've got that breach. See you later. Now there's earnings in between there. I am not ever going to advocate that you need to hold over earnings. Shouldn't do it. We have much higher probabilities trading stocks that have already reported earnings. We don't need that crapshoot. So this is just one example, one stock, and you can see this trend line right here also breached. So we've got that and that. Isn't this great stuff? This excites the living heck out of me. I got to tell you, I am so excited about this. Look at this gorgeous breakdown right here. This is your low plus right there. Hello. Some of these last a long time. Some of them don't last but a few days. And you'll know when you see them too, when we start hitting those price points with a lot of velocity, that makes them even better. ZS, the stock has been pounded. These trend lines are coming into play from a long time ago. So we come up through here, and the way that the system is going to be constructed from a rule standpoint is that we don't care if the line gets touched. We have to close below it. So got a couple touches in here. Blam. Okay, now we close below it. Look at that follow through. Is that nice or what? There's another longer term trend line coming into play. Takes out this price point right in here. There we finally close below it. Beauty. Here we've got a couple of other angles coming in. This is ZS, by the way. So this is a low minus trend line, a descending trend line. See you later. This is a low plus trend line coming from an earlier point. See you later. I could zoom out, and I will do that in a little bit, and you'll be able to see what it looks like on a 3-year basis. And some of you are going to go, wow, that's just too much. I can't even process that much information. If you want to look at the trend lines, fine. If you don't want to look at them, you don't have to. You'll just know that the breakout is there because the stock is going to be coming up on searches. Personally, show everything to me because that's going to give me the confidence I need to trade a system like this, to know that these are not just willy-nilly lines that have been dropped on a chart somewhere, that yes, I can look at this chart and I can see the follow through on every single one of these. And in some cases, when we get those reversals, they're going to happen quickly, folks. They're not going to happen in 2-3 weeks. They're not of interest to us at that point. But when we get that little breakdown, that little head fake, and then 2-3 days later, maybe even 5 days later, boom, we get that big reversal, you bet. Because anybody that bought that breakout, anybody that shorted that breakdown, once we get back above that trend line, guess what they're going to do? They're going to cover that position, and that's going to fuel the reversal. Very, very powerful. So we're going to continue to take a look at a few more symbols here. This is Morgan Stanley, MS. Oof, a lot going on here. So let's pick a few. All right. Here we've got a trend line coming into play, but you can see we're below it and right back above it. It's not a very good trend line. We get a nice downward sloping low minus in here that produces very nicely. Here we've got the breakdown. Okay, so remember, this would be a low plus breakdown. Looks great. Here we go. But that trend line extends here. So here we're short. Uh-oh, we're back above it right in here. Look at that follow through. So again, luring you in. Oh, there's a breakdown. Oh, excellent. I'm going to short it. So you get short, and now you're regretting that. Most people would fold up shop and say, I'm done with this stupid thing. But wait a minute, the best move is yet to come. So here we've got a descending trend line, not triggered until right in here. Get a little bit of follow through on that. We've got another one in here. You've got another one here. So again, this price is so compressed, but when you get this breakdown here, this is about a week's worth of data. This is not 1 or 2 days. This is more than a week. This is probably like 10 days. So from in here, April 26th to here, in this case, yeah, it is only a few days, May 2nd. But in any event, you can see the momentum, which as day traders, this is what we want, is we want that momentum. There's another breakdown right in here. Now this is Morgan Stanley. I'm glad I have this chart up because some stocks are much more difficult to trade than others. Why? Because they're just chopping all over the place. And some of these trend line breaches are not as clear because the stock doesn't traditionally make big moves. There's a nice high plus, good little breakout right in there. Here, we're starting to get into a failed breakout right here, and there's your reversal right in there. So let's continue to take a look at a few others. McDonald's, there's a gorgeous breakout right there. Here's one of your fakes. Here you've got a high plus. There's your breakout. Oh no, it's not going. It's going to reverse. Well, look at the backside that we get on that. Really nice follow through. Downward sloping trend line. Look at the bottom fallout here. That's what I'm talking about. McDonald's, pretty choppy stock as well. Here, you've got a nice high minus. Look at that follow through. Got a little bit of a breakout right here and an instant reversal. Very, very choppy back below that trend line. You can see it right here. So you're above it, and now you've got your reversal. You're back below it, and you get this drop right in here. So we're going to monitor these failed breakouts, these fakes, if you will, for 10 days. And if the stock falls back below them, these are really reliable. In fact, if you didn't trade the breakouts and you just waited for the fails, those fails tend to be extremely reliable. So this is how McDonald's shaped up. Got a nice breakout here, got a nice little breakout here, another high plus top. Everything looks good, 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 good. You could say, oh, well, what about this? I mean, because that trend line came into play here. Well, actually, the trend line was attached and drawn after this move. So it wasn't there at the time. We didn't know. It could have kept going up, 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 up. So yes, if it were already established, it'd be easy to go, oh, well, look, it just has a little bit of upside here, so I'm not going to buy here. That wasn't there. Okay, we had this breakout right here. Got a little bit of move here. There's your reversal. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Look at this breakout right here. This is a high plus. Look at that follow through. Again, a week's worth of price action. Good price action, not mamby-pamby, herky-jerky, back and forth. Something you can sink your teeth into for at least a few days and probably more. In some cases, as we start following these, you can see that, hey, this is a really nice breakdown. Look at that follow through. One thing I have been noticing, because I've been looking at so many charts in the last couple of months, is that, and this might be because of program trading, I'm not exactly sure, but you see a ton of these really deep pockets, very, very deep pockets, very steep trend lines into these deep pockets. And I'm considering ways to trade these pockets because they seem to be more and more pronounced, more prevalent. It's like the institutions get in there and they drive it one way and then they reverse it back the other way. So when you've got an uptrend like this, it's anything but smooth. You get all this kind of stuff in between. And catching these little pockets like this can be very effective after a nice steep move. So you got big ascending move here, and then you get this little pocket low minus in there breakdown. So yes, I'm looking at that. There's a beauty right there. I could see it coming in from the left of the screen. CRWD, let's take a look at that one. This is going off into oblivion, but, oh, we had a little breakout here on this high plus. All right, everything looks good. Uh-oh, there's your fail. See ya later. Bottom falls out. There's a nice little low plus breakdown. Look at that follow through. You get confirmation from this low minus right in here. That looks good. And you've got a beautiful little breakdown right here, CRWD. Look at that. Things get a little bit busy in here. You've got an ascending trend line, two of them, one that goes off here and one that goes out here, one that goes out here, all into oblivion. And then you got this little guy. There's your failed breakout. Here you're going down, nice little follow through, nice little follow through, comes in here, nice little follow through. So you have a number of different trend lines that are telling you to stay short this stock. So you've got a downside. This is a low minus breakdown. Okay. You got this one, which is a low plus. So you've got two breakdowns saying, yeah, this is a good little short. So now you've got another signal to short, another signal to short, down arrow, down arrow, down arrow, down arrow. You start looking at the charts like, yeah, I should be favoring the short side right now. Here's a Gorgeous little breakdown right in there. Look at that. This is really good stuff, folks. Coin, let's take a look at that monster. This thing, woof, nasty. The bottom is falling out. So you get a nice little breakout here, lasts a few days, but you can see there's a lot of trouble on this particular stock. So you do not want to be trying to pick bottoms on this one. Price gets a little congested, so it's going to be difficult for us to see this. And maybe I'll zoom in on this one because then you can see what's happening near term. All right, so here we got a lot of noise. We got this downward sloping trend line coming in here. Nice little breakdown for a few days. Again, you're day trading. You see this? Yeah, I could day trade the heck out of that. Nice little breakdown here. Sure, love that. Here's a nice little downward sloping trend line. Oh, wow, that's actually gaining some traction. We've got other trend lines coming into play as well. So this one, again, I'm less excited in trying to find breakouts to the upside on coin because it's been battered like this than I am in trying to find breakdowns. So I want to follow that trend whenever possible. Here's another low minus, beautiful little breakdown. The more signals we have, the better. And this is probably, let's see, August. So this is about 6 months worth of data that we're looking at here. Yes, they're probably a nice 6, 7 good trades for us. And if we multiply that across 3,000 stocks, we're going to have tons of great signals that we can use other forms of confirmation for as well. So here's where it gets a little scary. Let me zoom out. This is 3 years worth of price data. You can see how everything is congested in here. We just started drawing these lines in the last year, so there's not much for us to see there. And I'm going to go back to maybe MSTR, and you can see how that shaped up. Gorgeous stuff. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. We're going to catch these as well. So yes, that'll be excellent. There's a nice little downward sloping H minus trend line there. Hello. There's a nice little upward sloping trend line. Folks, this is an institutional product I'm going to be giving you. I know these price points are very reliable. I've been testing them. This little tiny looking thing here, why would we want to connect something like that? Oh, I don't know. It's significant. Doesn't look like it, but it is. So yes, this is going to be released probably in the next 10 days or so. I'm still testing, fine-tuning, fine-tuning, dialing it in more and more. But that's what that longer term chart looks like. I'm still going to do a few more here. So let me go back into a view that's not quite, okay, this is pretty good because this will give us probably, we'll go one more magnification here. So this is actually about a year's worth of data. So we were down to, I think, RBLX maybe. Breakdown in here, breakdown here, little breakdown in there. So this stock is just chopping its way lower. But there are some pretty good little moves. This never triggers. Over here, this is an earnings candle, so I would avoid those earnings candles. I would not trade the day after earnings. If it's a really big move and breaching, you want to make sure you've got that follow through. So now we got a good connection point. This is actually a nice little connection point. There's a good little breakdown right in there. You can see it moving higher. Get your breakdown. Okay. Now we're all on board. We've got it on our radar. We're searching for it. This is a nice breakdown right in here from this trend line. This is a nice breakdown right in here. Again, a week's worth of time on this. Here you've got a downward sloping trend line. That's a nice breakout to the upside, confirmed also by this little guy here. And see, I mean, even the little trend lines like that can produce some big results. It's more a matter of how that trend line is constructed. And you don't see everything that went into analyzing that data point and that data point. You just see this little thing and you go, oh, well, that's nice, but I can connect these and get that breakout. Sure, you could. Absolutely, absolutely, you could do that visually. And that's the difficulty, is that when you have pen, paper, straight edge, you can draw these lines. Your brain works so that you can connect lines like this. But if you look for a pattern like this, I could tell you where you're connecting these tops, you are going to find so many horrible trend lines that you won't be able to sift the garbage out from the good stuff, because you'll see lots and lots of these patterns, especially for a stock that might not be moving very much, where it's sideways, and now you're connecting a bunch of tails. And yes, getting lots of nice looking trend lines with lots of touches, they just aren't important to us. They're not valid. They're not the kinds of trend lines that are going to produce these big moves. So let's continue to take a look at a couple more, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. PANW, you can see this stock is a mess. This thing has been pounded mercilessly, and I can tell that from these long-term trend lines off of the high. And here you've got a nice little breakout right in here, but it fails instantly. So this is where you'd be notified that there's a breakout, and then it falls right back down. So when you've got these trend lines falling from the heavens, I would be very careful. Now you start getting into a little bit more of a more gradual trend line. On a stock like this, I would trust that a lot more. Get one in here. Again, use some caution. You got a nice little base in here. All right, yeah, we're starting to move higher. We've got another little confirming trend line right in there. Got a nice breakdown right in there. That's going to last us for at least a week. This is about 2 or 3 weeks on that breakdown right there. Good stuff. You've got a upward sloping trend line here. That's also really good stuff. By the way, one thing that I am looking to do is I'm going to reduce some of the noise on some of these really long-term trend lines that come into play as the stock is basing. So that's a little fine tuning. Tiny little guy in here. Wow, that sure produced a very nice move. Got a nice downward sloping trend line here. Get a little bit of upside, but again, I'd be a little bit more cautious trading those. And there have been so many stocks this year. I'm sorry, I was on SQ was the symbol, not PANW. Now we're on PANW. Nice breakout here. Going to nowhere. Here you've got your little breakout right there. So we're waiting for it to close so that tail does not trigger an entry. We need to have it close above the trend line, which it does there. The next day it reverses and we're back below it. Hello, we got a high plus top. See you later. That's how you can catch these. Now you can't draw these super steep trend lines. I guess you can, but anything that's almost at 90 degrees, you don't give too much weighting to. So you really don't draw them because the breaches don't mean as much. I can experiment with them, and I will experiment with them, because if I draw a steep upward sloping trend line and then I get a high plus breakout, then I know that there's a fairly good chance, because the stock has come from so far, that there's going to be a reversal to it. So this is just the next level of the analysis that I will be doing once I have the trend lines drawn. So it's just an entire process. I can't tell you how many different variations and iterations I've been through to this point, but I'm quite satisfied that we've got some excellent trend lines. CVX, and maybe we'll take a look at a couple more here. Downward sloping trend line, breakout to the upside. Here you got a nice little downward sloping trend line, breakout to the upside. This will probably be good. CVX. I like it. I always try and give you a stock pick I think CVX looks pretty good in here. I don't know that it's the one. I'll see if I can find another, but that's pretty nice in there. Upward sloping trend line here. Really nice breakdown. Okay, we got a couple of heavy selling days in here. So you get this, you see it on our radar, and you come in and you're like, hey, CVX just had a nice breakdown. Look at that baby go. Look at that relative weakness. For 2 days, you could be making some serious money on that. Then get out. Don't have to ride this thing for a long time. So I'm looking for any other breaches that we have that not there, not there. Here, this is not going to trigger here, but it will trigger here because we have a close below it. So now you get your close below it. This is a low minus bottom because it reverses the very next day. Upward sloping trend line. Nice little follow through right in here. This is good. This is good. Here, I probably would not have caught that because you've got your breakout here. I'm going to monitor them for, I'm thinking 5 days. This one probably lasts. You got your breakdown here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, maybe, maybe not, but you can see how that really was a nice breakdown right in there. And you've got your steep trend line right in here. So that's what I've been working on. 2 more, 3 more. We'll get down to TSM. This stock has been obliterated as well. So you're looking for these big trend lines coming from a very high level. Yes, they're somewhat tradable. I'm not crazy about this when they're that steep. They're still less than 45 degrees, but the bottom of this stock dropped out. So this is a nice little trend line right in here, trend line breach right in there. You've got a nice little breakdown right in there that you could trade. A little bit of one right in here. So we could take a look at what's happening on TS or on IMND. Oh, this is oh gosh, this is going to be one of those charts. This is a biotech company, so let's take a look at this baby. You can see, look at that breakdown right there. Oh yeah, hello. That was super, super nice. And then yes, you've got a little low minus, excuse me, a high minus trend line right in here with a nice release right in there. So lots of opportunities in there. You've got a nice little breakout there. You've got another nice breakout there. You got a nice little trend line there. You can see this catches everything. Go into net. I'm going to zoom back out because we don't need to busy this up. And maybe we'll find something on a very short-term basis. But again, a lot of these trend lines pouring down from very high levels because of what the market's been doing in the last year. And here you've got a nice little breakdown here. Upward sloping trend line, good breakdown right in there. Got a breach coming through right about in here. And the final one we'll do is TSM. And you can see gorgeous breakdown right there. Gorgeous breakdown right there. Gorgeous breakdown right there. Got a breakout to the upside. TSM. Okay, this might be our pick of the day. Now, here's another thing. You're probably asking yourself, well, come on, Pete, can't you just find stocks like this? This is so nice. Yeah, it's nice, but no, there are not many that have this type of trend strength, this type of orderly price action, and that have clear defined breakdowns like this. There aren't many of them. Well, you've got to search the universe of 3,000 stocks because TSM might be working really, really well right now, but it might be garbage in another 6 months when it comes to drawing trend lines. There are other stocks. I'm just pulling a name out of the air. Macy's. Macy's might look like absolute garbage right now, but it could get into a phase where it's starting to set up some really nice, clean, defined lines like this. Gosh, that's just gorgeous stuff. I wish they could all be like this, because then we just short it and ride it. Incidentally, this is what I plan to use for day trading. We'll use it with lots of other variables, lots of other searches, looking for that momentum. But I am also looking for longer term breakouts and breakdowns. I have a couple of other systems in place right now that I'm testing for that. So yes, there will be something for swing traders as well. And we're going to zoom out and take a look at how this trend line, this is it, TSM. I love it. And looky there, we had earnings before the open. Let's put up a couple of major moving averages, and let's see where that 200-day moving average comes in play, and let's see where the 100-day moving average comes in play. Well, I don't care about the 50 if I'm already through that. So yes, folks, TSM, that is your trade of the day. I like it. Market first, market first, market first. SPY, I'm going to bring this up, by the way. It does not set up well for trend lines in general. Lots of herky, jerky little movement. So there's one trend line. Yeah, we get some nice little follow through there. Hey, that could be 50 or 60 S&P points. Nice little breakout here. Yeah, that's probably 100 S&P points. So here, got a nice little breakout. Okay, I'm not saying that you don't get decent trades off the SPY. Right now we have this downward sloping trend line. That is in force. Upward sloping trend line. That is in force. Major moving averages between the wedge formation. Not good. We're going to chop back and forth. Be very, very careful. The first breakout of this wedge could look like, oh, we're off to the races. Everybody loves earnings. Everything looks great. And then it reverses back down. And when these breakout buyers get flushed out on the backside, whoosh, you break this upward sloping trend line right here. I don't know about that, Pete. Well, if you're following this trend line back in here and this trend line back in here, you had exactly that formation. This was that massive rally that we had about a month ago that took us through that downward sloping trend line. And then guess what happened? We had a high minus fake and the bottom fell out. And in doing so, we broke an upward sloping trend line similar to this, but both trend lines are a little less steep now than they were before. So that makes them a little bit more rigid. So as far as the market's concerned, could see a big breakout in the next week or two. I am expecting it. Back and forth over these major moving averages, they mean nothing right now. This wedge is all that matters. So I don't know if we're going to break out to the upside or the downside. I do know the bid is pretty strong into earnings season. Earnings season is just starting to unwind right now, and TSM is telling me that there is a really nice breakout happening, and it's above the major moving averages, and the reaction to earnings was excellent. Big volume. Love it. Watch for trend lines. They're coming to Option Stalker very soon. Trade well. Thank you for watching this YouTube video. I'm Pete Stolzers, and I'm going to keep the trade ideas coming along with lots of education. So make sure to subscribe to the channel and please turn on your notifications so that you never miss another trade. If you like the content, please give it a thumbs up. I've loaded 2 other videos that I think you're really going to enjoy. Stay tuned. We'll see you soon.